Hey everybody, we're the good doctors of Abbey Research, and we're here with a special edition coverage of The Crown, Season 4, Episode 1, Gold Stick. And if you watched our video of Gold Stick, our normal recap video, if you didn't, the link is below, you will know we have decided to take our Northern Irish rants out of the original recap videos and make them a bit separate for several reasons. We had a lot to say about episode 1 that wasn't about Northern Ireland. And we also are taking on some feedback that people didn't necessarily want to hear about it. So if you're here and you care about our thoughts on episode 1 and why it did such a terrible job of dealing with the troubles, you are very welcome. If you mistakenly clicked this link, now's the time to bow out, and we'll see you for episode 2. So, yeah, I mean, y'all, it was really bad. It was really, really bad. And to be quite honest, we're both very upset about it. But we're going to try and joke a little bit through it, and break down exactly what was bad about this episode, which, you know, the core event of it was the assassination of Lord Mountbatten by the Provisional Irish Republican Army off the coast of Mullimore, County Sligo, in August of 1979. And that might be pretty much the only factual information they provided in the episode. Where would you like to start, Dr. Kristen?
So dramaturgically, I found it irresponsible.
Correct.
Because it drops, there have been, a handful of references to the conflict in Northern Ireland before this.
I don't even know if they did it in season 3. The only thing I remember was when young Lizzie went to the Orange Hall.
Yeah. I think at some point, like, somebody says the Irish are trouble again or something. Like,
I don't know.
Side comment. It's minor.
It is very small.
So to drop unsuspecting people into the middle of B-roll footage that was actually not from any event around that, but we'll get back to this, was, I think, shocking and, again, dramaturgically inappropriate. So No one had the context for anything that voiceover was saying.
Correct.
It also painted the conflict as a very black and white, there are two sides, which is also dramaturgically irresponsible, because one of the reasons that thing lasted, it still lasts, is because it might be the least black and white conflict the world has ever seen. And it's been happening since, pick a feature. I say 900. Like, it's been going on for a little bit with a lot of very valid grievances on literally every side.
Correct.
So to drop you guys who may not know anything about any of that into a voiceover and B-roll footage, contrasting with the pomp and circumstance of the color of the guard or the strooping of the guard, or I can't.
Funeral. Well, at the beginning it was, whatever that thing.
Yeah, whatever that thing is called that they do every year. Like,
and then the second voiceover was
was during the funeral, right?
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, the very first scenes that we get of this entire season.
Mm-hmm.
So what that should say is that we're going to be addressing this for the entire season. But we all know that Peter Morgan doesn't actually ever follow those kind of narrative laws. He just tells us whatever he wants to tell us. He doesn't ever situate us appropriately. He doesn't ever, it's not even, and the way he tells it that makes me so angry is that it doesn't actually encourage us to investigate anything on our own. Yeah. He lulls us into a false sense of, like, oh, but don't worry, I've done all this work already, so this is actually all you need to know about it. But he didn't do any of the work. He didn't do any of it. So that's where I'd like to start.
Yeah.
That the assassination of Lord Mountbatten was committed by the Provisional IRA.
Yep.
The Provisional IRA is called that because there were several IRAs.
Yeah.
The IRA was pretty much formed in the early 20th century and was part of a lot of the armed conflicts of the 20th century on the island of Ireland. But there are many splinter groups. we are not going to re-adjudicate that in this video. We are not going to re-adjudicate quite a lot of things. There are people that we've done it in a couple of videos in the past. There are lots of people that can do it for you. We would recommend any Pathé video as a place to start, because it's usually like, it's biased for sure because it was BBC, but it's usually contemporaneous of the time. And so you can at least get a vibe and then go forward from there.
Yep.
But the only thing that a viewer can take from this episode, who doesn't know a Northern Irish person, who doesn't even know that Northern Ireland is a country, who doesn't have any connection with that province, is that the IRA is evil and wrong. I don't see another narrative conclusion that you can draw based on the information that he gave us. Now, the assassination of Lord Mountbatten, very famously, is just about the only thing any IRA person has ever regretted publicly. And politically they've admitted was not the best move they've ever made. There are a lot of things to talk about with the provisional IRA, and this one isn't even the most interesting. So then we'll get on to the details of the scene and how they were driving a car with British registration plates in Sligo.
Yeah. And you know, before we get into the historical inaccuracies, I encapsulated my anger over this throughout the last couple of days as I was thinking about it. And what gets me, right, is, you know, ostensibly this is a show about the royal family. It's supposed to be about the crown, Elizabeth, but as we've seen already from the first episode, not so much. But we know throughout the first 3 seasons, it's also about the relationship of the crown to the British government, the politics of prime ministers, and the machinations of the British government. So to say like, oh, well, they shouldn't talk about the Troubles because it's a show about the royal family is not true, because it's a show really about the British government, the 2 arms of it, the official and the unofficial, the ceremonial and the real, whatever.
Legislative, yeah.
Yeah, the legislative. And, you know, by all accounts, we're going to spend a lot of time with Maggie Thatcher this season. And so there's ample opportunity to deal with Northern Ireland. As we said, you know, not to rehash season 3, but there was a lot of time in season 3. But certainly there's more significant events coming during the reign of Maggie Thatcher that could also be talked about. But I'm really nervous, and I'd almost rather they didn't at all based on what they did. But the crux of it for me is, in season 3, we spent 120 minutes in the province of Wales in 2 episodes. And we dealt very empathetically with life on the ground in Wales, both in Aberfan and in the investiture episode. They humanized Welsh people. They humanized Welsh nationalism and this tension between the English and the Welsh and this colonial kind of attitude. And all we got in this episode was 7 minutes of a voiceover. We didn't even get a human being from Northern Ireland in the flesh in front of us to humanize this conflict. And for me, that says all you would ever need to know about what Peter Morgan thinks about this conflict. That it's not even worth introducing a character or a face. You know, and we had, what was it, season 2 or season 3 that, I think it was season 2. Remember that Northern Irish reporter?
Yeah, 2.
2 was season 2 because it was Claire Foy.
It was during Claire Foy's time with us.
Reign. Yeah. So for me, that's the thing, because we know and love a lot of people from that part of the world who are human beings, who have thoughts and feelings and emotions, particularly about the 30 years of armed, violent, sustained conflict that many of them lived through. And to, you know, we recognize what historical fiction is. We love it and read it a lot. But this is recent memory. This is lived experiences of a lot of people watching this show, and it's deeply irresponsible. And I also think deeply callous.
Because especially the things, if you want to do historical fiction and you want to change things like Mazel Tov, like you want to make Margaret Thatcher black, like have fun. I don't care.
Right.
But these are not details. This is all the details that are wrong are laziness. They're not storyline choices.
Yeah, and as the brilliant Rachel Thompson pointed out in her Mashable review, which we'll link below.
Incredible work.
Like, shout out Rachel for doing all the research on Northern Ireland. I was really, really impressed. But at the end, she says, you know, this is also a show that has done Diana's wardrobe to pinpoint accuracy.
Yep.
So it's not that he's not a detailed person, or it's not a detailed show. They're telling you very clearly what details matter and what details don't. And one detail is the fashion choices of arguably one of the most fashionable women in the
ever. I mean, totally fair. Like, I mean, I think a lot of us watch this for the fashion choices, so that's fine.
That's fine. But you're making a value judgment that is more valuable than the details of the human lives that were impacted by the violence.
Because a very easy way to tell this without bringing the IRA into it at all, without, like, we didn't need to see them on the boat. We didn't need any of that. If you didn't want to touch the Troubles, all you had to do was film somebody getting that telegram.
Right.
That's it. That's all you had to do. You didn't have to show, first of all, there was not two drivers, there was one driver. The sequence of events was factually incorrect. The voiceover doesn't exist in any records we can find of IRA speeches. The accent even feels real wrong. It doesn't sound like somebody that would be part of a provo. There are about 39 distinct dialects in Northern Ireland. So finding somebody who sounds like they are from a part of the world that would have had heavy provo recruitment would not be difficult.
No, and like this is a detail that, like, I can already hear some people being like, oh, well, now you're just nitpicking. But like, accents are very important in Northern Ireland, as they are around the world.
In the UK. Full stop.
Yes, I mean, they're important everywhere, but especially in Northern Ireland, within the context of the conflict, the way you speak and how you sound tells people where you're from, and most likely tells people what your political persuasion is. And the person they had doing the voiceover acting for this was very clearly from a part of Northern Ireland that does not have these political affiliations. And
most likely, yeah. But if you're going to give us 7 minutes of a voiceover, hit us over the hammerhead with exactly what this person would like. You can do stereotypes so easy in Northern Ireland. I'm not going to lie. Like, it lends itself to it. And they just didn't care even to do the stereotypes.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple of things about the montages, but also, well, let's deal with the scene of Mountbatten first. First of all, shout out to, again, Rachel Thompson and Ed Power. I knew the reg plate, the license plate on the car was wrong, because in Northern Ireland, they're yellow with black lettering, and this one was white with black lettering. And I was like, that, and it's also not a reg plate for the Republic of Ireland. So I knew something was wrong with it, but I didn't cop that it was an English license plate, which absolutely in no way would the IRA have been driving a car with an English license plate.
Yeah, no, and it's white in the front, even in Northern Ireland, and yellow in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the whole UK. Like, that's the entirety.
Oh, right. Yes, you're right.
Why, like, when we drove our car in the UK, like in mainland UK, nobody could tell we were from Belfast.
Right. It's the back that they could tell.
Yeah, it's the back they can tell you.
But yeah, whatever the number order on it
was also very, very English.
Very clearly made it English. You know, the historical inaccuracies about, and it doesn't upset me as much that the drivers in the car watching the bomb, we don't know that happened. The bombers had already been arrested before the bomb was detonated for a different offense. But it, you know, that's neither here nor there. The montage I would really like to hit upon, because as we're getting this, like, the drama of, you know, a member of the royal family being assassinated, very, very big deal. We get this mashup of videos, black and white videos, showing footage from Bloody Sunday, which took place in 1972, various nondescript riots and altercations between the police and British Army and people in Northern Ireland. And then we also get a clip of some men marching.
Which is a major pastime in Northern Ireland. Let's just, a huge pastime.
Big deal. Men parading in Northern Ireland. I knew something was wrong because they were in black, and the provosts generally wear green jackets if they're marching in an army-style parade.
Yep.
So that caught my eye. What also caught my eye was the flag in the background, which was the flag of Northern Ireland, the state, which is not at all a flag that would have been seen anywhere near a provisional IRA march. It's a distinctly unionist, loyalist symbol, which are kind of the flip side of the coin, really, in this very murky waters, mixing metaphors. The flip side of the coin, let's stick with that one, in Northern Ireland. So not even the right time zone, like not even anywhere near it. And then we get some future forecasting from Peter Morgan.
That was fun. In 1979, we looked forward into 1981.
1981, where we see a march of placards with the names of hunger strikers on it. The hunger strikes in Northern Ireland, particularly the longest and most historically relevant one, was 10 months in 1981. So 2 years before this happened. They show a mural with the names of the dead hunger strikers on it, including...
Which definitely hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, which definitely hadn't happened yet, including Bobby Sands, Patsy O'Hara, and Ray McCreesh, like all men who died on hunger strike, again in
1981, not in 1979.
And for me, for a show that took no effort to show any of the B-roll footage from the 1970s leading up to this scene, and there's a lot. We talked about it last season. There's a lot. To then like dip into the 80s presciently. So Ed Power at the Irish Times said it was now that's what I call the Troubles version of Irish history. So shout out to Ed Power. I am not that clever. But it was like,
it was abominable. It was abominable.
The Belfast Telegraph said it was like the playlist of Ulster's like greatest hits or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's every stereotype that Northern Irish people believe English people have about them.
Correct.
And God, did he just lean in?
And one of those two brilliant people that I mentioned talk about Peter Morgan's inability to see context outside of the London milieu that he knows so well.
Yep, he doesn't care.
And that's it. And I think we talked about this last season, but like, if you don't care, don't talk about it.
Yep. It's fine. Don't half-ass two things, whole ass one thing. And there are a lot of ways to tell the story he's trying to tell that can completely ignore Northern Ireland. It's not hard, but the dipping in and out is destructive.
And particularly from, and I was just talking to a friend who's Northern Irish about this morning. And she's not watching The Crown because she's afraid it's going to make her too upset, which I said was totally fair, because she's very aware of how the way the British government, the British populace, and the British media portrayed Northern Ireland. And she's like, I'm so afraid that that's what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And I just messaged her and said, it's exactly what you are afraid it is. Don't watch it.
Yep. My husband can't watch it.
You don't need the stress.
Yep.
So, and it's such a damn shame, because the show, like the acting is brilliant. The visuals are brilliant. Some of the storytelling is brilliant.
Yeah.
But to be so disrespectful of people who've experienced real and lasting trauma.
And the irony, by the way, that we have Gillian Anderson playing Margaret Thatcher when one of the last things she did on Netflix was a show set in Northern Ireland called The Fall.
The Fall, which was brilliant.
Which was brilliant and handled Northern Ireland and Belfast and the Troubles perfectly.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't stop giggling.
Oh, we haven't even talked about that BS phone call either.
Oh, okay.
Y'all.
So it's possible that happened. We don't have the Queen's private phone records.
It's possible. I would imagine that Thatcher did probably call the Queen to tell her,
and probably said something akin to what she said, because I will tell you as well that Margaret Thatcher's position on the provisional IRA never changed. It was outright war, she had no real idea with what to do with the loyalist paramilitaries, God bless her, but she did definitely know what to do with the Republican ones. Yeah. And so it's possible she said that to the Queen that night. Totally possible. But here's our fear, is that she said that publicly, almost word for word, at in
the House
at a later time.
Yeah.
So we're not, what that says to us is we're never talking about this again.
Yeah, because the crime is crime is crime. There is no such thing as political murder. Like, literally, that's a speech.
Yeah, yeah.
That she made
after Brighton, doesn't she? Isn't it? It's a hot minute from now.
It's not after Brighton. It's for the hunger strikes, because
it's for the hunger strikes. Okay, still a hot minute from now. I thought it was
the hunger strikes that we mentioned earlier. The prisoners were protesting for the removal of political status.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yep.
So they were claiming that they were political agents, not criminals. And there was a lot of pressure during the second hunger strike, especially on the Thatcher government, to concede as men were getting sicker and dying on hunger strike. And she went all in and said, no, crime is crime is crime. And it's like one of the most famous speeches she ever made. So to throw it in a phone call with the Queen in 1979, I was like, what are we doing? But to both Kristen and I, that said, we're not going to talk about the hunger strikers. This is the greatest hits of the Troubles. This is all you're getting.
And so the show is incredibly, obviously this season's going to be about Charles and Diana, spoiler alert. And in 1981, obviously that storyline had a bit of a peak.
Big ol' event happened.
Big ol' peak. So again, just say that Mountbatten died. Give us the incredible scene with Charles and Philip. Dig into what it must felt like for them. Do the funeral. Go for it.
It was devastating for the royal family.
Utterly devastating. And we do know from some royal insiders that it did calcify the crown's position against the IRA for sure. Mm-hmm. Like, it affected them. You can show all of that.
Yep.
Without being disrespectful to an entire population of people that, by the way, Peter Morgan are your fellow countrymen, whether you like it or not. And everything I hate about this show is stuff he's in charge of. Everything. The stuff I love about the show is stuff he's outsourced to other people. Like, it's just, he drives me utterly up a wall. And for anyone who's like, we're being too critical on him, first of all, he's a public figure. He's created public art. We get to say what we want to say. And second of all, if that man was sitting right in front of me right now, I would say the exact same things to his face, and there would actually be more profanity, because I am so disgusted that in my first 4 days in Belfast in the year of our Lord 2005, I picked up on more than he did living in England his entire life.
Yeah. And we should also mention, and because in that phone call, for the sake of historical accuracy, Margaret Thatcher did mention Warren Point. They did not spend any time on what that was or what that meant. It's
in the weird IRA voiceover too.
Yes, they do mention Warren Point in the IRA voiceover. But it was both on the same day, the 27th of August, the IRA planted 2 bombs. One in, it wasn't a bomb, it was an ambush in Warren Point. So the bomb in Sligo and an ambush of a British Army barracks in Warren Point in County Down, where 18 soldiers and a civilian were killed.
And to be clear too, because this is politically significant, Warren Point is in Northern Ireland and is in the United Kingdom. Yes. Sligo is in the Republic of Ireland and is not in the United Kingdom. And so there were different ways that those people could be prosecuted, which was a rabbit hole that I want to chase because I'm fascinated by it. But just so you guys know too, those 2 different locations are IRA level strategic.
Yes.
That it was Sligo, in both countries.
Yeah, parts of Sligo are very close to the border with Northern Ireland, so it would have been easy to get across.
Oh yeah, I mean, Sligo and Donegal got a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Not easy to get across, but like the borderlands. So for me, and I'm not a huge fan of the British Army, but respectful that those soldiers died. That was a massive, massive deal.
To the people of England as well. Like friends of mine that were English, that grew up in England, they remember Warren Point and they remember the Brighton bomb.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Flip me Enniskillen. A lot of people remember Enniskillen as well because it was the Remembrance Day.
That's fair. Yeah. My personal friends don't recite that one as much, but you are correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So to have a throwaway comment twice and not really was, again, you know, we're kind of repeating ourselves here, but it's worth repeating. It shows the level of lack of care, the lack of care that went into this.
It's a Google search, guys.
Like, honestly, we found the IRA statement about Mountbatten in the archives of an Irish newspaper in 5 minutes before we started filming.
It's not a challenge.
It's not difficult. Also, you know, we're two experts in Northern Ireland. There's a lot of us. Not as many experts, not as many as there are experts about Yeats, but there are a lot of us who could help you and would be more than willing to consult. Even for,
like, it sounds like you did with Welsh nationalism.
Oh, hey-o, that's a Ginsburn. So yeah, if you're still watching this, anybody, bless you for our rants. These are things we felt very important to say out loud, not only for ourselves, but for the people we know and love and work with in and around Northern Ireland, who aren't going to say it for a lot of reasons, or who aren't going to watch the show for a lot of reasons.
And we should say too, there's a lot of people that we love in Northern Ireland who give two shits.
Yeah.
And like are totally fine with this show
we
and are enjoying it and just look at us and they're like, you guys care too much. So
we don't speak for all the people of Northern Ireland, obviously.
I definitely speak for some of my interview respondents who talk about the way that English media portrays Northern Ireland as very damaging anyway, because that just happened to be part of my research. But yeah, I mean, like even within my husband's family, there's a division of people who are like really pissed about it and the ones that love it. So it's complicated. So if you're a Northern Irish person watching this, be like, you don't fucking speak for me. We know we don't. We know we don't. You are correct. You are correct. And we are sorry that we didn't say that up top. Yeah. But both professionally and personally, this makes us angry. Yeah. And also just because laziness on a big budget makes me angry. Like the biggest budget in the history. Netflix just gave him a blank check, man. And like, you want some B-roll footage from a Provo march? There were a lot. Like, they didn't really ever stop marching, and they're still. By the way, you can still find them. They didn't go away, you know. So it's not hard. It's less Troubles reference. It's not hard. It's not hard. No, and I just got so distracted by your reference there that I forgot the next point I was going to make. But yeah, it's not hard to find this information. And you know, whether or not we speak for anyone but ourselves, it's a show on a budget, probably only slightly less than Game of Thrones. And to behave this way about any history, about any human beings is irresponsible and callous. Yeah, I was this pissed about Kenya, I remember too. So. Oh yes, Kenya. Whoa, that was terrible. You were that pissed about Kenya, I remember. Yeah, I just get really. Colonialism is not fun to sit with, and Peter Morgan's belief that they were never colonial is a separate rant that I could go on for a really long time. So we're going to hit pause here. Yeah. If you would like us to do more videos on the events that are happening in Northern Ireland parallel to this season, please let us know, because even if he doesn't talk about them, we are certainly happy to, and talk about how easy it would have been to interact with that or why it didn't. If not, then this might be our last time we yell at you for this particular season, and we'll see you in our regular coverage that I'm sure in which we will spend a whole lot of time talking about Diana's dress. Yes, I am excited to delve into, we haven't really been on Brooch Watch. Well, we're with Lizzie, there's no brooches. I don't think the 80s were big brooches. We can now go on, I think, shoulder pad watch. We're definitely going to be on shoulder pad watch. So yeah, if the show deigns to talk about Northern Ireland again, we will do a separate video, or we might do a summation at the end. We haven't decided. But let us know what you want. What? I said, let us know what you want. We're here for you. We're here for you. We're here to make videos that both relieve our stress and cater to your interests.
And we will see you all if you stuck with us for this video for episode 2 next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.